Let's look at how I approach mixing loops, all right, percussive loops for contemporary uh, Christian music, something like this. All right, so usually when I have my loops brought together or the percussive elements brought together, uh, depending on how it sounds, there are some I would actually duplicate and pan hard left, hard right, just to increase the stereo width. Then some I don't, I just pan a little bit here and there. Some I can leave it central. Then I route everything to a percussion bus where I start to process, the different elements. And I basically will start off with this plugin, the DVR Pro 2. And why I like to start off, it's kind of becoming um, a knob that I'm using now to start off my chain for every element that I'm mixing. And that's because of positioning, doing the 3D positioning. I like to make my placement so that the listener kind of feel how each element is being positioned in the mix, and also gives a visual perspective, right? So if we're to listen to, the percussive element without any of this plugin, everything stripped down, this is what it sounds like. Okay. So pretty much that's not just what it sounds like. But the first thing I want to do is handle the positioning. Now, this is the Dear VR Pro 2 plugin. Has the position side, has the reverb side, the virtual acoustic side. For the positioning, I have this azimuth point where I'm just leaving at 0. Then the elevation, I'm pushing up to 5. Then the distance, I'm actually bringing it a little bit back by 2. So I have the the uh, the loops, a little bit back in the mix. Then I have the stereo width to 50. All right, just increasing a little bit of the spread. So now with this positioning off on, let me turn off the reflections and the reverb. So you just hear just with the positioning now. Without it, with it. So you can feel the spread, okay, and the loop is the loop tracks, behind you. You don't want to have that instance where you have the loop tracks just shouted, because most times engineers, what they want to do is try to turn down the volume, but you can handle that by just simply positioning. Now let's go to the reverb. Here I'm just using a preset, the live stage presets, and just drawing down the gain to -6, and I'm high passing 300 hertz and low passing 7K. The reflections, yeah, the way I want the reflections to be handled, in a three-dimensional way. You can see you have the left, the right, you have the front, you have the back, you have the top, you have the bottom. Yeah, I'm just playing around that left, bringing it quite close to my ear, right, quite close to front to top, 5, back. I'm kind of having it shifted back down. Yeah, 8, and bottom 1.8. So everything together. Okay, you can hear the space, that the loop track is, giving, and it's already breathing in the mix, as opposed to without it. huge difference. Okay, so the next is for me to do my EQ, and I'm using the FabFilter Pro Q, and I'm really not doing anything much here. I'm just handling, doing high pass to about 40 to then, doing high low shelf, I'm just dropping down and doing a dynamic EQ here. So that's basically what I'm handling here, nothing really serious. Then bringing my compression, I'm using the SSL, Wave SSL compression for this particular chain, okay, for this particular chain. Now with this SSL compression, I'm having my attack to be 10. I'm having my release, to be -1. Sorry, not -1. I'm having my release to be 0.1. Very, very fast, very fast. My attack to quite slow in this. Then my ratio 4:1, and practically I'm not compressing this so hard. Okay, I'm not compressing this so hard. I'm just having gaining like about -1 to thereabout. So I'm just going for like there about -1, -2 gain reduction, not compressing too tough. Okay, and I think I had a bit of the makeup gain added here, just a bit. I think by 1. So then to close up my chain, I'm using this saturation plugin, the Razor Clip saturation plugin. It's a very nice saturation plugin that has different types, different saturation types that you can play around with. All right, and in this particular one, I'm using the tape saturation model. Okay, you can see I'm using the tape saturation model. The blend is 100. The output, I just turned out the output a bit to -1 here. My gain, not really shifting anything on my gain. Okay, so with that, here's how the percussion loops or the loop feel generally. So if I were to take everything out, we're bringing everything back. So that's basically how I handle, my percussions. I use the DVR Pro 2. I use my FabFilter for EQ. Okay, then I'm using my Waves SSL compression, and I'm using my Razor Clip for saturation. I hope this helps, guys. Thanks.